Welcome to the deep dive, and a massive hello to all our Canadian listeners out there tuning in. We are dedicating this one entirely to you all, so please do not hesitate to comment below with your feedback and thoughts.
Yeah, we'd absolutely love to hear from you.
Definitely. So today we're jumping into source notes from Nations in Three and the Global Portrait to pull out some of the most, well, fascinating facts about Canada. And since you probably already know the basics, our mission today is to really unpack how this extreme environment has engineered the culture and, its global footprint.
Right, and to really grasp the mechanics here, you have to look at the ratio of land to people. You've got a highly diversified $2 trillion economy managed by a bilingual, proudly multicultural population of just 40 million.
Which is pretty wild when you think about it.
It is, and that includes deep Indigenous heritage First Nations, Inuit and Métis, right alongside vibrant communities of European, Asian, African, and Middle Eastern descent. And they are managing the world's second largest country at 9.98 million square kilometers.
Almost 10 million. That land-to-people ratio is just a massive logistical puzzle. The sources highlight over 200,000 kilometers of coastline,
And across three oceans, yeah.
plus over 2 million inland lakes holding 20% of the entire world's freshwater. 20%. How does a relatively small population actually manage an environment that vast?
Well, historically, it forced a very specific kind of national resilience. But today, that vastness is creating new global pressures. Take the Arctic coastline, for instance. For centuries, the search for the Northwest Passage was about navigating an impenetrable frozen frontier. But climate change is gradually warming those regions, opening sea routes that were entirely locked in ice.
It literally changes the map. Suddenly, a quiet northern border becomes an active geopolitical theater.
Exactly. And that harsh, isolating environment connects directly to the country's social fabric. You just don't survive in an environment that routinely drops to minus 20 degrees Celsius without a highly communal, pragmatic mindset.
Which perfectly explains some of these sociological observations in the sources. The famous social reflex of constantly apologizing, or the hyper-pragmatic reality of buying milk in plastic bags in parts of Ontario and Quebec.
Yeah, the bagged milk always surprises people.
Right. But when viewed through the lens of extreme geography, throwing outdoor festivals in freezing winters isn't just a quirk. It's a localized survival mechanism. You embrace the cold together rather than enduring it alone.
It's a genuine testament to a warm spirit thriving in a cold climate. That communal approach is the bedrock of their cultural identity.
And obviously that communal spirit extends to the culinary exports you're already familiar with. The sources touch on the classics like poutine, butter tarts, and the fact that they've cornered roughly 70% of the world's entire maple syrup market.
70% is a huge market share.
It really is. But beyond the food and the geography, which naturally draws millions of visitors to places like the turquoise lakes of Banff, the power of Niagara Falls, or the highly livable urban integration of Vancouver, how does a country with such a dispersed population project influence outwardly?
It comes down to a masterclass in soft power. Without the military density of other global superpowers, Canada historically shaped its identity as a trusted mediator. The sources emphasize their leadership in UN peacekeeping missions. They leverage diplomacy over force.
And they carve out highly specialized technological niches. The Canadarm for NASA's space shuttle is a perfect example, from the notes engineering an indispensable robotic tool for global space exploration.
Right, and you pair that scientific contribution with their cultural diplomacy. They have cemented a fierce sporting legacy, particularly through ice hockey and hosting the Winter Olympics like Vancouver in 2010. It all projects an image of reliable, quiet competence.
So to summarize for you listening, when you look past the standard trivia, these sources really reveal a nation defined by immense space, a deeply communal culture, and cutting-edge innovation.
They do, and this raises an important question to leave you with. As climate change accelerates the opening of the Northwest Passage, transforming what was once a frozen boundary into a highly viable global trade route, how might Canada's role as a peaceful, quiet superpower need to adapt in an increasingly crowded and competitive Arctic?